Peace and love, greeting. Welcome again to the N.E.P.P.C podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with my brother and former political prisoner
Abdul Haq Islam.
Today's episode, we focus on political prisoner Veronza Bowers. Veronza has been down for close to 50 years. He has a very incredible album out now. It's Veronza Bowers and Rev Love. We're going to have Rev Love on with us in a few seconds to let us know about this important album. So many people are going through mental health issues. So we invite people to please share with 10 people, donate $1 and Cash App. Safus and Kofa, and do what you have to do. Don't let political prisoners die in prison. Greetings, welcome.
Greetings, my brother comrades. How are you?
We're doing great. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm blessed today. Give thanks.
Yes, well, we doing our best to promote this incredible album. We know Veronza Bowers has been very serious about uplifting people mentally because we all have the role to play when it comes to this mental health crisis. So please let us know about this important album. Let us know what people can do for Veronza Bowers and raising awareness about his work and the reason why he should be home and helping people.
Well, there's so much to say about Veronza Bowers, as there's so much to say about all of the political prisoners. But since we're talking about Veronza today, so Veronza, he learned to do a lot of things in prison. He became a Reiki master. He learned how to play the flute, the silver flute, the bamboo flute, and the shakuhachi flute, which is a Japanese wooden flute with a very healing frequency, a healing tone. And some years... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said it sounds beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It's a very beautiful sound. And so he taught himself how to play these instruments. He does sound healing ceremonies in prison for other prisoners, other incarcerated people. And some years ago, they managed to record one of those healing ceremonies on a cassette recorder. He got those recordings to somebody who then years later transferred them to myself and the record label that I'm a part of, Thug Nations. And, you know, just from being in communication with him and him knowing that we're musicians, he's like, you know, is there something you could do with these recordings? Let me know. And we couldn't believe it. Like, just the fact that they were recorded in a United States prison, but you would never know. You know, because they're literally so healing and such beautiful, beautiful music that he's playing. And we were like, for sure, we can make an album of this. We cleaned it up to get, you know, there were times where you could hear like people coughing, you could hear announcements over the prison intercom. So we cleaned up all of those noises and we were ready to put it out. And then he actually called me and was like, hold up, I had a dream and I want your voice on the project because I'm a singer. And so he asked me if I would add some singing vocals and some guided meditations, as well as some other instruments like Tibetan sound bowls and crystal sound bowls and different instruments. So we did that. He was adamant that it's now a collaboration album. So we put it out just last week, about 10 days ago. And I think it's a beautiful project, you know, and especially if I encourage people to listen to the whole thing, but especially when you get to the last track, which is the title track, Finding Peace in the Chaos. And that is just a recording that we did. Veronza called us from prison, obviously. And it's his advice on how he has found peace in the chaos. And I think the major takeaway is like, if this man who's been in prison for 49 years unjustly can find peace in his chaos, then all of us should be able to find peace in our chaos.
Wow, that's very important because I know I listened to the whole album myself during my lunch break. The best I can to do this interview, and I felt very cool at peace. And I think that to have this mind being incarcerated for close to 50 years, it does our community, our people, a serious disservice because I frequent the subway system in New York City, and there's a number of people going through health crisis. What I was telling my comment that this album should be brought to the United Nations, and he should be recognized for this type of work. Because once we start recognizing political prisoners for this type of work in terms of contributing to humanity, they raise awareness about why they incarcerated, and if it's truly a correctional facility, does it take for somebody to be quote unquote corrected? And now when you have him be given like an award in humanity, I think that now you have to raise the question about this great being incarcerated for so long. Because how long he's been incarcerated for now? Because I was said over 47 years.
49 years. 49 years. So that
Unbelievable,
yeah,
unbelievable, and unacceptable. Because
He is the longest held federal prisoner, correct?
I believe Rochelle McGee is the longest held, but that will make him like the second or third.
Federal.
Oh,
Okay, all right, yeah.
yeah.
He's one of the longest held, correct, yeah.
Yeah, I mean 49 years, that's
so we have more. I'm 49, so picture me being incarcerated my entire life. That's how long he's been incarcerated. And one of the things that I've been able to do is I've been able to participate in a community grief program, right, on Thursdays from 6 to 8, public housing at a community center called Jacob Reese Community Center. It's held by Sugar Ray and others. And, hey, they have an organization called Transform America. And that's one of the things that I want us to try to do. I want to build a stronger relationship between our political prisoners and our community understands that there is somebody somewhere being incarcerated because of their move forward. And I think that needs to be done, that relationship. So that's one of the things that a goal that I'm setting for myself and for anybody viewing is that political prison. So let us know the importance and how does Veronza respond to those letters?
Well, the importance, I mean, if anybody comes, I was born in Canada, but I've been here for quite a while. And when you come to the US and you just really observe the communities here, like you can see the gap. You can see the gap that has been left from these great minds that have been killed or imprisoned, taken away from the community. And if we just think this is just one man, this is just one great mind who is healing people who are also incarcerated, who is writing books from prison, who teaches everybody meditation that he comes into contact with, and will plan to open his own healing studio when he comes out. This is just one man. Imagine that wealth of knowledge and love that he could and should be sharing with the community outside. So yeah, like I said, it's just one of the prisoners, But as far as reaching out to Veronza, I mean, he will respond. I think we all know that political prisoners, their mail and their emails get messed with quite often, but every letter that he does receive, he will respond to. Like we cannot forget about our political prisoners, and we can't think that, everybody writes them. No, everybody doesn't write to them. So their letters, our letters, really get them through.
Point, but me and Frank both had sent letters to Veronza, and the authorities decided that he would not get those letters and send them back. I said many letters to political prisoners, and he never got the one I sent, and the one that Frank sent him, he never got that either, and the authorities sent him back.
Yes, because I remember one time writing to him, and I wrote him 7 pages, and they sent it back, said the max he could have is 5 pages. So that's how petty they are, and they want to discourage us from writing our political prisoners, writing our freedom fighters, because that's how we need to identify them as freedom fighters. Because there's a interview in which Veronza Bowers talked about his upbringing and talked about how he got put on to the Black Panther Party, how he changed, how it was the words and it was teachings of Malcolm X that politicized him. And he was driven to the point where he had to participate, he had to join an organization. and that's when he decided to join the Black Panther Party. And I think that that's what people need to understand. They need to understand that people didn't wake up becoming political prisoners. They didn't wake up being politicized. There was a process. They observed their concrete reality and decided that this is unacceptable, that I'm going to stand up, I'm going to do something. And he, like many, decided to do something, and the level in which they were willing to do something was a threat to the state, and the state chose to counter their act by incarcerating them, by labeling them terrorists, and not what we call political prisoners and what we call our freedom fighters. Why do you think that our freedom fighters, our political prisoners, are dealt so harshly from from what you experienced in this fight to free our political prisoners?
Well, it's what you just said. I mean, they're a threat to the system as it stands, right? People always say the system is broke, but like, it's not broken. The system that we live under was meant to oppress certain people and not oppress others. That is how this system works, right? So when you have great minds, when you have powerful people, and you have not just one of them, you have many of them coming together in a group to take powerful action, and then you find that the people are supporting them. I mean, of course, this is a threat to the government, to the system. And, you know, I'm hopeful for the future, but I'm not really hopeful for the American government, to be honest. And they weren't going to let any of that fly. Come on. Like, they're not going to let any of that fly. They want to keep people subservient to the system. And so when you have people coming out and being like, no, we can actually affect this system, we can give the people power, we are people power. Nah. Government wasn't going to have that. And they've obviously done a great job of making sure that they stay incarcerated. If they didn't kill them, they've stayed incarcerated for way too long. And then, like I said, there's this big gap. I find that most of the younger people don't know anything about these freedom fighters. Most of them.
Yes, that's why. So let the people know where they can hear Veronza Bowers' music.
Yeah.
We
So
played at the beginning.
Yes, we could.
Incidentally, that was Veronza's music that we were playing at the beginning of the show.
oh, perfect.
Of the test,
Yeah. So the album is, you know, you can Google it, or you can put any platform. It's on every single platform that's out there, whether it's Apple Music, Google Play, Amazon, Spotify, all of them. You just do Veronza Bowers and you'll find the album. It's his only album so far. So if you just do Veronza Bowers, it's called Finding Peace in the Chaos. And Veronza's website is veronzabowers.org, I believe. But there's an Instagram, which is free Veronza
Yes, I
Bowers.
was about to mention that. Veronza.org.
How many songs on it? It was 12, right?
The album has it's eight songs, but some of them are very long. Like one of the songs is 18 minutes,
songs?
you know, 'cause they're like meditations.
Right. So let's go through the whole track list if you have time. You know,
Yeah.
briefly. This way we can discuss the value of each one. So take us through the first song.
Okay,
and,
let me
and,
just,
and its meaning behind it.
okay, so I'm going to do that. I'm just going to pull it up to make sure I don't speak any of them out of order. All right, so the album, as we know, is Finding Peace in the Chaos. That's, you know, self-explanatory. Veronza, I'm always amazed. Like, he is so peaceful. He is so full of love and light despite his circumstances. And that is more than an inspiration, you know? So the track listing is as follows. The first track is Out of the Nothingness. And so that's about creation, that, you know, we came out of the nothingness and that nothing needed to experience itself in respect to something. Nothing couldn't experience itself unless there was something for it to see itself versus, like a mirror in a way. So that's Out of the Nothingness, creation. We Exist Outside of Time is, and of course they're mostly instrumentals. But this is what the music is trying to speak, or what the music is sharing, that time is a man-made construct and we are spirits that exist outside of any man-made constructs. We are multidimensional. Track 3 is the physical plane, and we named it that because it had a little sadness to it. And so it's like we are these multidimensional spirit beings that came to the physical plane to experience this life and everything that comes on this earthly plane. But there's a bit of like sadness in it because we long for that multidimensional spirit self that we came from. We Came from the Stars is track number 4, and that is kind of self-explanatory that we are, we're again multidimensional spirit beings that came from other dimensions to be here in this time on this planet, and especially during this time that they're calling the Great Awakening. We came to be a part of this. Pieces Within is track number, I skipped one. Track number 5 is Finding Heaven on Earth. And so that is where we as humans, we find the balance, and we find the joy and the love and the freedom that we experience in our spirit self. We find that here on earth. And how do we do that? Well, through the song, it's talking about finding that heaven through the heart, through love. And then track 6 is Pieces Within. And that is when we find the peace within. Obviously is very self-explanatory, that it's not an outside job. We can't really find these answers outside of ourselves. We have to go within to find true peace. Track 7 is Oneness. So that's really where our spirit becomes one with the all, with Allah, with Jah, with God, whatever, with the universe, however you define it. Oneness is just that pure light, pure love. And then finally, track 8, which is the title track, Finding Peace in the Chaos. And that is where that is the first time Veronza's voice comes to the album. And it's where he's sharing a pretty long piece that he wrote about, he says, I'd like to share with you some ways that I have found peace in the chaos. And it is my hope that you can all find peace in whatever chaos surrounds you. And it's like, it still makes me tear up when I hear that, because it's so powerful. He says, like, the pain of imprisonment is a constant pain that never lets up, but yet he still has found peace within his situation. So we close the album with that. Yeah.
Yes, and that prior to us coming on air, I was listening to an interview that he had, hearing how he was around people who were being sentenced to more time than they actually been around. Like they'd be in their 20s and be sentenced to like 20-something years or 30-something years, whatever the time is. But the time was, they were in existence. And I think that when he's listening to that and hearing that on a continuous basis, motivates him to do something, to take action, because he's a revolutionary. He understands that if you're bothered by the current situation, the only thing you can really do is to struggle to change it. And I think that he uses that to help those who are facing some serious times while incarcerated. So how has he utilized the things that he's been knowing while he's incarcerated from the conversations you've been having with him?
Yeah, he's truly like a light in one of the darkest places in the world, the American prison system. He's a light to other prisoners. He mentors young incarcerated men. As I mentioned, he does sound healing, whether one-on-one or in group settings. He teaches people how to meditate. He does Reiki healing if people are interested and need it. He does massage. He even knows how to do acupressure. And one thing that he's doing every Thursday morning, they do a sweat lodge ceremony. He was initiated in the Lakota tradition, and he knows like all of the traditional chants in the Lakota language. And they lobbied to get to have sweat lodge ceremonies honored as a religious practice. And so every Thursday they go outside and they build a fire. and then they put huge stones on the fire. Once they're super hot, they bring them into the tent that they've built, and they have a sweat ceremony. And I mean, it's, thanks to him that they are able to do this, which is obviously a very purifying ceremony to have. So it's kind of like the list of things that he does. It's big.
Right, so it's like he embodies George Jackson's saying about "they will not count me amongst the unbroken," and he's a very strong person. So, what was the process that he went through to get those ceremonies recognized as a religion?
I'm not sure of the exact process that they went through, but it was him and some other brothers some years ago. They just had to appeal to the prison authorities to allow them to recognize that as a religious ceremony. And I don't think it was overnight. I think it took them some time, but eventually they did get approved. And like I said, he does it every Thursday that they're not on lockdown, which they've been on lockdown quite a bit lately. But when they're not on lockdown, they go out every Thursday and he leads the ceremonies.
Yeah, he has said that the camp that he's in allows for programs and more independent, self-upliftment practices than other prisons do. This particular place that he's in right now is kind of liberal in that sense.
Yeah, well, it's a medium security, not a max security. So,
right.
And being that this is Black Women's History Month, it was ironic that when I was listening to his interview, he gave his mother a lot of credit for the man that he's become. And I think that says a lot about him, and it inspires others to recognize the power of those who teach them. And particularly when you have to value your teacher. And I thought that that said a lot about who he is, to be able to recognize his source of teachings initially, and then he comes out, and then he decides that he's going to be with the Black Panther Party. He's going to decide that he's going to elevate those teachings to another level. And what I'm saying this is that, when we recognize somebody's quality of teaching and we truly respect them, we need to be driven and motivated to the point where we take action. And I think that if we truly are bothered by the fact that our political prisoners, our freedom fighters are incarcerated, then we should be motivated to do something, to take action, to get involved. We should not tolerate our political prisoners being incarcerated. We should not let our political prisoners be forgotten. We should not let our political prisoners die in prison. So, go ahead.
Yeah, as Frank was speaking, and about the interview that we just listened to with Veronza, I was going to speak on a point that he just spoke on, which was the role of women in his development, and the role of women being central and fundamental to who he is. He carries golden gifts of humanity in his pride, his hope, the dignity, his strength, his ability to be sane, in an insane environment, and he gives much due respect and acknowledgement to women, his grandmother and the other women in his life, and like I said, as Frank was mentioning that, I was thinking about mentioning that, and then Frank mentioned it just now, and so I just hitchhiked on to that.
Right, and I just want those who want to support Veronza, where can they write to him at, and how can they participate in the struggle to bring him home?
Yeah, so veronza.org. You can get all the information, including his current address. There's a PayPal that people can donate to. Free Veronza Bowers is the Instagram, at Free Veronza Bowers. All funds from streaming and downloading are going to go to Veronza. So, if you don't want to write him, play the album. We'd love to get as many streams as we can just to support him when he comes out. But writing, I mean, like I said, letters they really help people get through these dire circumstances. And
Yeah.
just to, because you were speaking about his mother, you know, he has this piece, a musical piece that he wrote called Eulogy for My Mother. And we're
Hmm.
going to see if there's anything we can do with that, because it's really beautiful. And he lost his mother while he was in prison, so that is
Wow. Yeah.
a pain that you could never get over.
Yeah, I know. I know about it.
And I know they denied him to go to his grandmother's funeral, so I know that was extremely painful for him. But he wrote a
Yeah,
poem, and I think that poem helped heal him, or at least help ease the pain.
Mm.
And I think that it's very important that people know that, because they need to really understand the seriousness in which our political prisoners need to be brought home, right? To enjoy moments, or at least like weddings and various ceremonies, and the pain to not be able to pay your respect to your loved ones as they make their transition. I think that's
Mm.
horrible, and I
It
think
is.
that does not reflect so-called civilization. And I think that more people need to hear that, more people need to understand that, because it's torturous for them to be in their current situation. And it is especially when we look at the length of time that they've been incarcerated. I think that we need to take up this seriously. We need to organize people, and we make a commitment. I know that you said Veronza was pleased with the podcast. So,
Yeah, let him know that we did this one today.
yes, and that we will continue to support what he's doing. We'll continue to let others know what
mhm.
he's doing, and we'll only get more committed to bringing our political prisoners home. And we challenge ourselves to do better, and we challenge others to get involved. Because if you call yourself a revolutionary, you need to be fighting to bring our political prisoners home. And if you stand for justice, then you need to not stand for the continuous incarceration of political prisoners.
Indeed.
And on that, I think just to appeal to the sense of justice in our listeners, a little information about the jive thing they call a trial, the unreliable witnesses. Am I correct? One witness had 3 felonies and was awarded, what was it, $10,000. The other one was a drug dealer, and people confirmed that these people were liars. Also, the outrage of him getting more time because he's innocent. You know, uh, the parole board has a rule that if you say you innocent, they're going to hit you. So not only are they going to be the parole board, they're going to be judge and jury too. So the fact that a person is innocent means that they do more time. And I think that's outrage to justice. And these are some factors in Veronza's case that the masses need to know.
Yes,
Yeah.
you was about to speak. I'm sorry.
No, no, please go ahead, brother.
No, I was just going to say that lets us know the type of man that he is, right? He's not going to admit to doing something that he did not do. He's going to stand on principle, and that reminds me of Geronimo Pratt. I remember reading Geronimo Pratt's book. I think it was called Last Man Standing,
Mm-hmm.
or and I remember reading the book, and he says in the book that he could have been came home if he
Mm-hmm.
would have just said that he did it,
That he
but
did.
he know he didn't do it. So he's not going to admit to something that he didn't do. Stand on principle. And
That law need to be changed. People need to rise up against that because you say you're innocent, you got to do more time. You do more time because you are innocent.
Right.
Which happens to people.
so we're looking at a certain quality of person, and I think that should even motivate us more to say that, oh, an innocent man is incarcerated, and the only way he can come home is admitting to doing something that he did not do.
49 years.
That's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it brings up the point. Like, it's exactly what you're saying. These are men of principle. These political prisoners that I've been working with, I've never met such principled people in my life. And I do think that missing these people has done a terrible disservice to the community, especially the African American community in America, of course. It's like there's a huge generation gap where the young people, they just don't even know the struggle that happened before they came about, you know, and that's very important that we know what it is to be a principled human, and that our principles, they're not flexible. Like if it's a principle, that's what it is, right? And unfortunately, it's the same story with all the political prisoners, right? Unfortunately, but you know, they're not going to say, "Oh, I did it just so I can get out." No, that's like letting the system win, and they're just not willing to do that. Which, again, that's a principle that is not flexible. We're not going to let the system win. So,
Yeah.
I feel like
Where Veronza put it.
Go ahead, brother.
Veronza put it. He feels remorse for the fact that a life was taken, but how you feel remorse for something you didn't do. You know, that's his words. That's how he put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I mean, he's a sentient being. I would call Veronza an empath. Like he feels everything. He feels everybody's pain. And so I'm sure he feels sad about the life that was taken, but that doesn't justify him, an innocent man, doing 49 years for a life that he wasn't involved in taking.
Right.
Right, so I think everything has been said. I think it's time to close up this episode. You know, going good. I wish we could talk longer, but you know, I think in this world full of many distractions, you know, we have to be short and to the point. Let people devour righteous food and get that proper nourishment and be motivated to do something. So, you know, let's all say some closing words to inspire people. I think I would say if you stand for if you want to stand for up against injustice, then organize, get involved with freeing our political prisoners.
Well, I say that if you listen to Veronza in his own words, which we said Veronza.org, correct? If you
Yes.
listen to him in his words, it hit home that we need him out here with us. You know, that he needs to be free. You know, so we need to join that fight to bring him home.
Yeah, for sure.
Closing
And
words.
yeah, just I would encourage people to also go to veronza.org, donate, write letters, stream the album, because his words are on the album, but also he speaks through his flute. So you can just know his soul through listening to that music. And like I said, all funds are going to go directly to Veronza. And I'll just close by reminding everyone that the true revolutionary is guided by a great feeling of love. And if you love the people, then you're a revolutionary, and take the action now.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So what's the call?
Free them all.
Free
What's
them
the
all.
call?
Free them all.
Free them all.
Free them all.
Free them all.